Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on the latest episode of Game of Thrones. As always, as with the norm in my videos, I won't be holding back on any spoilers, so please do bear that in mind. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. Just when I thought things couldn't possibly get any worse for Game of Thrones, along comes episode 5, which makes me want to do a Tommen and jump out of the nearest window. Seriously, this episode is bad, and perhaps its greatest crime is how it manages to completely sabotage some of the major characters that the show has been building up for years. For example, most of us didn't like Jaime during the opening season. I mean, pushing a kid out of a window while shagging your sister isn't exactly going to endear you to a lot of people. However, as the show progressed, so did he. We found out the real reason behind why he killed the Mad King, which made him all the more sympathetic. He went out of his way multiple times to help Brienne, as well as tasking her with protecting Sansa, which again made him all the more likeable. And finally, at the start of this very season, Bran, the seemingly all-knowing guy that he is, even made a point to say that Jaime had changed and wasn't the same man as he was back in Season 1. 8 seasons of character development has been destroyed in 1.5 episodes. When I saw Jaime leave Brienne last week, I couldn't believe that he was going back to Cersei. A lot of people, however, seem to take the view that he was going back to King's Landing to try and kill her, and I guess they thought that because that actually makes sense. However, I just didn't buy it. Jaime told Brienne that like Cersei, he was also hateful, and to me it seemed like he was suggesting that deep down he was an evil person and therefore deserved to be with her, with this week's episode confirming my worst fears. Yeah, Jaime Lannister turned back into the bad guy and went to King's Landing to save his sister and former lover. This makes absolutely zero sense. I really don't see the point of Jaime's character having this redemption arc if he's just going to bail at the last second. You might as well have just killed him back in Season 1. Honestly, I laughed out loud when Jaime told Tyrion that he didn't care for the innocents, because that just isn't something his character would say. Yeah, maybe he might have said this during the show's first season, but not now. I remember him begging Cersei to help Jon fight the army of the dead in Season 7 because if she refused, thousands of people would die. I guess maybe Jaime just forgot about this, like Dany forgot about the Iron Fleet. In fact, Jaime maybe forgot about everything that happened to him since Season 1. There was nothing bittersweet about him dying with Cersei, it was just plain ridiculous and a complete waste of his character. Why anyone thought this would be a fitting ending for his character is beyond me. Speaking of which, I also have no idea why the writers chose Euron to be the one to wound Jaime. I get there's some animosity between the pair of them as they both want to be with Cersei, but you'd think that with Cersei in trouble, both of them would try and focus on saving her instead of, killing each other for no reason. Hands up who thought that Yara Greyjoy should have been the one to kill Euron or Dany to avenge her dragon. But nope, gotta subvert those expectations, people. Sadly, Jaime's character wasn't the only one to be destroyed this week, with Daenerys now being reduced to nothing but a crazy lady on a dragon. Before she completely lost it, Dany somehow managed to take down Euron's entire fleet without her dragon taking a scratch, even though last week Euron managed to land 3 out of 3 shots on Rhaegal. Makes sense. After taking care of Mr. Finger in the Bum, Dany's armies managed to take King's Landing with relative ease, with the Lannister soldiers all laying down their swords because they know they can't compete with the super overpowered dragon. Whilst I'm talking about Dany's army, how the hell are the Dothraki still alive, anyone? I thought most of them died against the Night King, if not all of them, but here they are running through the streets alongside the Unsullied, who have also miraculously recovered back to full strength. And I thought there was 20,000 Golden Company soldiers. There looks about 200 here. Also, it seems to me like Euron killed Dany's dragon last week just to even the odds for the upcoming battle with Cersei, but then Dany just steamrolls her way through King's Landing anyway, in which case, why kill Rhaegal? If it were the writers' intentions to have Daenerys defeat Cersei comfortably, then there was no need to even have Rhaegal be killed. Instead, they could have just had 2 dragons setting fire to the city. The only reason for him dying last week was to shock the audience and nothing more. Anyway, what happens next is perhaps the dumbest moment in all of Game of Thrones history. Cersei signals her surrender by ringing the bells, at which point Dany decides instead of capturing or killing Cersei and then taking her place on the throne, to kill everyone. And I don't just mean soldiers, I mean literally everyone. Innocent women and children as well. I just don't get it. Daenerys had finally got what she wanted, she won, and she decides to go apeshit for no other reason than the writers wanting to set up a conflict with Jon in the final episode. The showrunners tried to shoehorn in the idea of Targaryen madness at the start of the episode with a throwaway line from Varys about flipping the coin every time one is born, but this simply isn't a good enough justification for Dany killing hundreds of innocents. If, for example, during the surrender, one of the Lannister soldiers or even one of the civilians killed Jon or Grey Worm, then I could understand why this would drive Dany crazy. crazy. I mean, sure, it wouldn't be the right thing to do, killing everyone, but at least it would have made a bit more sense. As it stands now, though, it just seems that Dany went mad because they had 40 minutes of episode to fill after they surrendered. So, just, 40 minutes of explosions, that'll do. I'm sure that most of you know by now that I've never really been a Daenerys fan, and that's mainly because I've always found her to be pretty dull and rather self-entitled. She's been saying for years how the Iron Throne is rightfully hers, but personally I've never really been given any reason for me wanting her to take it. I've never disliked her because I found her to be particularly evil or cruel, because let's be honest, even though she killed those who refused to kneel to her, the rest of the cast isn't exactly innocent. The Hound has killed countless people but remains a fan favourite. Theon butchered innocent orphans. Ned's first act is to chop a guy's head off who was telling the truth, and Jon and Robb have both executed people who opposed them instead of showing them mercy. The point I'm trying to make is that Dany has never been set up as an evil, crazy character, no more so than the rest of the characters on the show. Yeah, she's done some morally grey things, but so has pretty much everyone on the show, and to suddenly turn her into the Queen of Ashes just because she's a Targaryen, oh, some Targaryens have been crazy, so she must be crazy, is unbelievably shit writing. Let's not forget this is a woman who opposed slavery, rape and fighting as a form of sport. She's done some bad shit, I accept that, but undoubtedly, as Jorah said, deep down I do believe that she has a good heart. I know she's lost a lot of late, but I still can't see her setting fire to an entire city of innocents because of that, especially when she had just won the bloody battle. I mean, if the people of King's Landing were refusing to surrender, then maybe you could argue that burning down the entire city and starting anew would be something that she would do as a last resort. But what she does do this episode is just absolutely stupid. The only reason that I can think of as to why Dany killed everyone was because she got sick of hearing Tyrion mentioning the bloody bells every 5 seconds and just lost it when they started ringing. Seriously, if you take a drink every time Tyrion says the bells or talks about the bells this episode, you'll die. I mean, we get it, Tyrion. The bells will signal surrender. Just shut up. Moving on, Clegane Bowl finally happened, and for me it ended up being another major disappointment. The entire fight felt pointless when compared alongside everything that was occurring in the background. If these two had ran into one another, let's say on the battlefield in the middle of King's Landing, I'd be all for it. But at this point we knew that King's Landing was screwed and that Dany had won, so why do I care about these two settling a personal score? The Hound himself knew that King's Landing was falling apart, so he should have just left with Arya and let the mountain be dealt with by the fire and falling rubble. It was really out of place and I just didn't like it, although I'm sure that some people will be pleased that the fight between the two brothers actually happened. And that's about it really. I know this is a shorter review than normal, but I don't really know what else to say. It was an awful episode, and if I'm honest, I completely switched off during the last 20 minutes and just wanted it to end. I honestly don't care who sits on the Iron Throne anymore, because I don't really like anyone. Daenerys is crazy, Jon is an idiot, Sansa is a cheap female Littlefinger knockoff, Arya is an overpowered assassin, Bran doesn't do anything, Tyrion, like Jon, is also a moron, Yara is nowhere to be seen, and Grey Worm has never been interesting. The only people we have left who I wouldn't mind sitting on the Iron Throne are Podrick, Brienne, Gendry, Ser Davros, and maybe even joke character Hot Pie. And all of these characters are bit part characters. It says a lot when the only characters remaining who I actually like are those who hardly appear on the bloody show anymore, and maybe that's because due to them having bit parts, D&D haven't had the chance to ruin them yet. I came into this season excited but kind of sad about the prospect of Game of Thrones ending. Now, however, I can't wait for it to be over. I don't want to watch it anymore. Game of Thrones has just become a bad joke. What happens in the final will happen, but I'm honestly past the point of caring. Maybe I'll just have to start reading the books instead and hope George R.R. Martin finishes them before he dies. Seriously, George, hurry up and sort the mess that these two have made of your story. So there you go, Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 5 review. Please let me know your thoughts below. Did you like this episode? Did you hate it as much as I did, or did you just think it was a bit okay? Whatever your thoughts, please let me know in the comments below, and let me know what you thought about this video. And that's about it. So, thank you very much for watching. Sorry it's a bit shorter than usual, but yeah, I don't really have a lot to say. There wasn't much that I liked about it, and the episode was pretty much 40 minutes of just, well, I mean 40 minutes of the episode was filled with Daenerys just blowing stuff up. It was just like a Transformers movie, so what can you really say about that, to be honest? But yeah, there you go. Let me know your thoughts. Take care as always. Thank you for watching. Bye.